Right.
Is that your stance?
Well,
Because I don't get that stance.
You know she wouldn't be doing it unless she really thought she would win. Because you don't take on Disney with their army of lawyers, unless you really got a good case.
Or unless you're really foolish. And I think we can give her the credit of not being really foolish. She's got a case.
Can't help but wonder, since Butler did sued right after for like another company, but still, like, if these actors just have like a group chat, shit, you suing? Man, I felt like I should sue. I'm gonna do it too.
Well, they're saying that Emma Watson's going to be doing the same thing because of Cruella. And Emily Blunt, as soon as, I guess as of yesterday with Jungle Cruise coming out, she's going to do something similar.
Good for her.
Right. I know it's going to be funny as shit to find out that whatever lawyer or agent is in charge of like signing these contracts with Disney is like, shit, we forgot to take out that clause. You gotta
remember, God, I would assume that the Black Widow contract was signed years before Disney Plus even launched,
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's what I'm saying is like the key detail that I saw from like the article that you posted or whatever was something along the lines of like, she was going to have like exclusive theatrical rights or whatever up to a point. And then obviously they released it simultaneously or even exclusively on Disney Plus, which doesn't fall into that contract. So again, it seems really black and white to me, but that's what the lawyers and the judge get to decide. So
right. Yeah, Disney with their like, you're not being conscious of the pandemic and like going after ScarJo is just a bad look.
Oh, come on! Like
poor Disney. They've been taken so advantage of during this whole pandemic. So
like the excuse that my picture framing company on the corner of First and Main can use the same excuse that Disney Corp can of Disney Plus. It's streaming.
I think you guys should have thought of that before becoming peasants.
Which brings us to
speaking of Disney.
That's probably the best segue I have ever accomplished.
We're very proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm actually still trying to figure out which character is the director's favorite, judging by her meme selection and.
Honestly, I'm not even sure. I mean, I really like Krunk, but I also really enjoy Yzma. But I love stupid characters, but she has such great charisma.
Right.
Yeah, the kid's amazing. I'm surprised they even got her to do it. Like,
well, it's funny watching the documentary and being like, holy shit! Like, she didn't have to act very hard for this role. Didn't. So how did the whole "Scary Beyond All Reason" line go? And the wife is like, dude, she's like in Ernest Scared Straight or whatever. And I'm like, I guess I'll have to go watch that. That's way, way, way back in my childhood. So, but yeah.
I mean, the alternate version of Yzma being much more evil and malicious and like whatever it was of trying to get like eternal youth or something and beauty. She seemed to be really enjoying that character, but she has such a sensuousness to this person that's also scary. It's a really great mix, and her voice is great. And so I would listen to her talk for forever.
Yeah, it's like she's such an iconic voice, like that was getting her was awesome.
Yeah,
they cast that movie so perfectly. Like everyone brings in like that right amount of energy and like the different types of energy. Like Botches that down to earth, like chill, and then you got Kronk who's just like silly and or kid being amazing, and it's just awesome all the way around.
Right. Except it wasn't originally, right? You had Owen Wilson in this Prince and the Pauper plot with Owen Wilson, David Spade. We should say we also watched the documentary, the Sweatbox.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Made by Sting's wife, who also wrote 6 songs, none of which were used, and he ended up getting nominated for the one he wrote at the last minute.
Yeah, so I mean, because they kind of mention it in the documentary, right? Like part of why they stuck to their guns so long and even drew out the process is because they knew they had all the right ingredients. They just couldn't get them to gel initially, right? The story wasn't really quite getting there, as we kind of discussed a little bit in the pre-show. Like it was like a bunch of memes or story beats from like Disney's golden age that they were trying to stitch together into something new. They were trying to do Lion King in South America, right? Which is not even remotely close to what we got. But like this, in an alternate universe, this very nearly was, a different topic where we were talking about what movie had all the right ingredients and flopped anyways for some reason. This was going to be that movie, but they managed to pull it out anyway.
Yeah, they scrapped almost all of it.
Right. And instead, now we're talking about how it's a perfect movie, So anybody disagree, by the way? Like, I figure we should get that out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really tightly paced. Like, it's only 82 minutes or 70. Like, it's barely over an hour.
Right.
Like, the pacing, I mean, it's tight. There's almost no wasted lines in the entire movie.
I think the one thing you could say about it is what I really like about it. And this might be a criticism for some people. It's not very Disney.
Right.
It's much more Looney Tunes. And if you want the sentimental fairy tale Disney movie that's not anachronistic or that's trying to keep things with real menace rather than just being kind of goofy, you're not going to have a good time. But if you ditch those kind of expectations, I think it's an all-star movie.
Right.
I would say it's like it's very tightly paced. The animation's great. The voice actors are very good, and overall, it's a good. I don't know if it's a perfect movie for me. Not that I can put a finger on. I think this is why it's bad, or anything, or because it's not bad, but I'm not as gripped by it as I thought it would be. And I've not seen this movie that many times. Like Justin's seen it a bunch of times. I think this might be my third time or something.
Yeah, I mean, even when I watched it yesterday, it was like 50% just on the background because I knew where we were, what the quotes were going to be. Like this is one of those movies I could pretty much like act out by myself. So
it's got a very specific style of humor, and if that doesn't blow your skirt up, then I could see it being like, oh, whatever for you,
Well, and I think a big part of it is that it kind of shirks those expectations, right? Like talking about it, like I think I did have a moment, like an epiphany, where it's like, holy shit, Emperor's New Groove is Disney, and probably had a double take when it was like, oh, Disney Plus has got all the Disney movies. Wait, this is Disney, because it is so outside of like their usual kind of mold, and even the humor is a fair bit outside of that too, but the like flipping those expectations is, I think, part of why it works, right? Like you get some of those serious moments where, they get back to Yzma's lab and they're like trying to find the potion to turn him back. And then she's like, aha, I caught you. And they're like, wait, how the hell did you get back here so fast? And she's like, wait, Croc, how did we do it? And he's like, like
I guess no logical reason as to why we wouldn't be here before that.
Right. So they just like couldn't come up with a plot reason, or even that was the joke, right? And so you just get, the humor as part of the story. So
also we've got like a lot of fourth wall breaks, which is something that's not too common in Disney movies. So there's a lot of things in there that aren't normal for a Disney movie, especially up until that point. Because I was thinking about it, and there's a lot of stuff that I kind of see carried on from this movie into later movies. Like, there's a lot of stuff from here that you see end up in Tangled, like how they're like.
But isn't this the last Disney movie like made by Disney? After this, animation-wise, it was Pixar and stuff, not Disney Studios.
No. Pixar was completely separate until they got bought out. The thing is, at this point, Disney had a string of colossal failures. Right? Yeah. It was this and Lilo and Stitch, which were the good ones, but then it also had Atlantis, Home on the Range, eventually
Atlantis is so good.
Right. Well, and Treasure Planet.
Treasure
Planet is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, arguably, even before this, you had Drek like Hercules, Tarzan, Mulan, which is and probably the only real tarnished masterpiece would be some like Hunchback of Notre Dame, right? That's probably the one that needed tweaks and could have been great and was just bad. But there was just a lot of this Disney Renaissance formula, which this movie almost fell into when it was originally.
Well, like there's also movies that like I didn't even remember. Like I'm looking at it right now. It's Dinosaur.
Oh, that's so horrible. Like once the dinosaurs start talking, it's bad. But it's great until then. So the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, because if you look at like, so obviously they had that string of Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King like those three were in a row. It's like,
right.
And then it was going 95. It was Goofy Movie and Pocahontas. 96 Hunchback. 97 Hercules. 98 Mulan, and like a lot of these just were not like big success.
Mulan was huge, wasn't it? Like that's a fond memory from my childhood, at least.
Yeah.
Some of them get cult followings and like have definitely outlived like their initial success, right? Or
Tarzan
whatever you want to call it.
Mulan? Tarzan was shit.
Yeah, it was okay, but Mulan was really. I mean, I actually remember the day that my mom picked me up from daycare to take me to see that in theaters. That was like a very strong impact on me.
Which Mulan or Hercules?
Mulan.
Mulan's great. Like follow-ups, not so much. The first one,
yeah,
right. Well, and like I mean, I think the difference here is like some of them obviously hit it out of the park, right? Like Aladdin, Lion King, yada yada, right? Those were obviously great. Some of these other ones were just like really good, and then some of them were just like, they were risky or not universally loved. Like I personally loved Treasure Planet, right? But not everybody did, So
I can't believe that didn't make back its budget. Like when they were listening came out. Like, okay, to be fair, they spent an obscene amount of money making that movie,
right?
But it was so good,
right? Atlantis, another favorite. So fight me, but
Atlantis is also one of my favorite animation films.
Yeah.
That whole franchise, I love all of them.
I went through a phase like the winter before COVID because it was between semesters. I was just watching all these Disney movies I didn't watch, and I watched them all back to back to back. And I actually, although I had seen Emperor's New Groove, I watched it around the same time. And if you see all of these movies at once, some of them really do not hold up. I think Emperor's New Groove and really Lilo and Stitch are the standouts. And Treasure Planet Treasure Planet it's tightly plotted, but that's because it's just an adaptation of a great story. But I don't.
Brother Bear must have held up. I remember that being so good.
Which one?
Brother Bear.
Brother Bear being good.
Awful.
Yeah. I remember loving that movie. Granted, this was when it came out, so that's like
you just killed
ago.
Ben. You didn't see it, but his soul left his body for about 30 seconds. So.
I don't want to trash a movie you like. I'm glad you liked something. It's good
that's
to
what
like
we're due
things.
here.
Oh,
We either all agree.
That's why Perfect Movie
I'm not
is
even
so
sure
nice.
you're a nerd, Ben. Come on now.
No,
Where's
that's
the
why Perfect Movie is the
outrage?
best podcast because we talk good about things.
But why? What didn't you like about it?
It's just, isn't it just a Freaky Friday? Brother
No?
Bear? No, not Brother Bear.
Yeah, I
Something with
mean,
bear for some reason.
but he turns into a bear, right? So
Yeah, it's a person that's shoved
which
into
one
a
did
bear
it better, Brother Bear or Brave? Like that's the real question, right?
I don't think either of them are that good. Brave has a redhead and it has a lot of Scottish accents, but other than that,
She's good.
Is that the only redeeming quality of Scottish accents and red hair?
yes.
I've not seen either.
It's one of those
seen Brother Bear a long
Pixar
time.
movies that has a great first 20 minutes and then it just kind of keeps going.
So
And
there's
I've had the
something
same
about
problem.
this first 20 minutes that keeps coming up. So can you just hold that energy for the rest of it? Maybe all of the rest of these movies needed to go through the sweatbox treatment that Emperor's New Groove
Princess and the Frog had the same problem. 20 minutes, first 20 minutes, fantastic, all-time great songs, and then it's in a swamp.
Right.
And then it goes,
Another one. I guess me and Ben just don't like the same animation movies. Because I remember Princess and the Frog being good.
I love some of the songs, and then it's just the middle hour. It's just
the thing that does it for me with Princess and the Frog is getting into the culture, right? And that when Disney does that right, they do their homework and things like that. But it kind of depends. But yeah, like so I'm not necessarily agreeing with all of Ben's takes here, but like I'm not saying they're invalid either. Like some of them I really enjoyed. It took me a couple of times to get into Brave, but again, like once you get into kind of like their anachronisms on some of the fables and the culture and things like that.
Brave is not on the list of Disney movies here.
it's Pixar instead.
Yeah.
Oh, is that?
Although it's after Pixar got bought out.
Right.
Right, but it's
Yeah,
still
so-
like considered Pixar, not Disney, when you look at a lot of those lists.
Right.
'Cause for
Yeah,
a long,
but the
for a
It's
long
Disney
time,
Animation Studios.
right?
Right.
I mean, for a long
Jesus.
time, Pixar was still handled as its own entity, but not really anymore.
I'm looking at some of these movies. I'm looking at how they did versus how budget versus box office. A lot of these movies made a lot of money, and some not so much, and some double their money. And then there was Frozen, which was kind of an outlier in terms of profit. Holy shit! It was all these made $300-400 million on a $1 million budget or something. And then there's Frozen, $150 million budget and made almost $1.3 billion.
No one expected it to do well either. Like, it was kind of thrown out there with little advertising.
Right. But it's the quintessential Little Princess movie, especially right now for this upcoming generation, right? Like it captures all of the magic, all of the wonderment, the young princesses and stuff. Like I can kind of see why it would be popular, but
I would say it's very much a modern old Disney movie, right? Like it's more up to there's way more humor in it, but it's very much like kind of the old Disney done in this era.
I think when people think old Disney, sometimes they think, oh, that's like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, but you kind of forget that there's merry melodies, and there's even stuff like Peter Pan is very heavy on just straight up cartoon slapstick funny humor stuff, and it's not just little moments like it is in something like Jungle Book. It's pretty much straightforward cartoon. And Disney got away from that with some of the Disney Renaissance stuff and the self-serious moralizing stuff you have like Beauty and the Beast. But this, it has a bit of moralizing, but it's not in the formula, and it's very much a cartoon still, which perfection.
One of my favorite I can see here on the list is Big Hero 6, and it's a scandal that continued as a TV show and not another movie.
Whatever you say, boss. So I was going to address the moralizing comment because that was one of the things, especially coming out of the Sweatbox documentary, was that there really is kind of like Kuzco does undergo his transformation, right? Like certainly it gets kind of overshadowed by the humor at times, but you have that touching moment in the middle where he saves Pacha, right? And just be like, oh, come on, nobody's that heartless. And it's like, oh shit. And then you get at the end with the whole water slide controversy, right? Because that was one of the big moments from the documentary. Like he wrote a letter to send to Disney to be like, I really don't want to be involved in this project if he's still going to build a water slide at the end. And I'm like, there is a water slide at the end, but it wasn't. I guess he was going to move. Yeah, he was still going to move his palace, or whatever in the original.
Well, now he has a tiny little hut. And he's happy, and it's smaller than Pacha's, and it's even on the lower level of hill or something. So he's not doing the big grandiose thing. He's learned materialism doesn't matter, and they just have the water slide they already had. And so he's not doing the same ostentatious thing, and Sting was apparently happier with that. And it seemed that even the guy that had the name of Disney was actually saying, yes, he shouldn't have a water park. That's just for me. I thought it was very strange for the person to be saying, you're right, he shouldn't have a water park, actually owns a fucking water park, or a dozen.
It sounded like interesting how the bad guys, Kronk and Yzma, end up becoming friends with the Emperor and Pacha by the end of the movie, and they keep her as a cat, it's a really flip on a lot of the tropes there.
Kronk always being the lovable idiot, arguing with his shoulder angels and all that. Of like, how does that have anything to do with the situation? No. That has a point.
Yeah.
And like he's attempting to be smart, and his shoulder angels are making him dumber. But he's always like good person, and he's not able to be the thug that she wants. And then she's the evil person because she never liked his Spanish pups.
Right. And I think that was some of the early like moments that kind of like flipped it on me, where I was like, wait a minute, this is not the movie that I expected. Because it's like you get the shoulder angels and you're like, oh my God, here comes the memes, here comes the tropes and whatever. And then, you know, like the you know, the shoulder devil is like, we're going to do this stupid thing because it's awesome. And he's like, wait, what are you going to say about that? And the angel's like, no, I agree. And it's like, wait, what? So, and when he cocks his spear, he's like, that's it. She's going down. It's like, it's so fucking hilarious, you know?
When he stands there and talks with the guys, and it's just like the maid like playing like, yeah, he's just talking with these guys, but nobody else sees. So there's like, what the fuck is?
Yeah, Yzma's like, what the hell's up with this? And they're like, he's your henchman, you know. Like, yeah,
and that's an absolutely like that was a great touch, especially when he's like, oh, he's gonna try to lead you down the path to righteousness. I'm gonna lead you down the path to rocks. Right. It's such great writing.
Yeah,
I mean, it did go very meta, right? Like the steeple lines on the map, and they see the steeple lines, and
right.
My favorite part
is some of the fourth wall breaks.
It is definitely probably the most meta Disney movie I've ever seen.
Wait,
yeah.
Have you not seen this before, Justin? Is this your first time watching? Based on what you just said, it sounded like you hadn't seen it before.
No, Justin's
Emperor's
seen
New
this movie.
Groove.
Yeah.
No,
he has children.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh. Like I'm not sure it's been 4 months since the last time I've seen this movie.
He is also a grown child. He's seen that movie like 100 times.
Right.
It's his favorite movie.
Yeah, I want to say the family introduced it to me because there was like a period of time where it was like only gaming. You know, like I stopped watching new movies, stopped watching new shows and stuff. So I got into Firefly late and stuff like that. But yeah, still, you know, like, yeah, what I was bringing is like some of the humor, like, you know, especially around Kronk, was always subverting the expectations, right? So like you expect him to be dumb, you expect to do whatever, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna stop her, and he cuts the chandelier and it just goes right over her because she's so skinny. Or, you know, at the end where it's like, oh no, Yzma's won, what are we going to do? There's no one to save us, and then he just comes out of a trapdoor from nowhere, you know. It's just like,
what are the odds that this would lead here? I mean, what are the odds?
Right. So
I mean, actually, I got paid to see this movie. It was great. Like I have a lot of younger brothers, and my parents didn't want to go to like take them to the movies. They're like, hey, look, we'll basically pay you to babysit, buy your tickets, food, everything, if you'll just take all the kids to see this movie. So it's like me and 3 of my younger brothers got in the car, and like I had no expectations, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Right.
What's
favorite parts?
Oh.
Okay, 3 people at the same time. Let's go. Rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah. Director
I was just gonna
RHIP.
Well, I don't have much in terms of any form of like what could be improved in this movie because it is perfect. And fight me if you disagree, but I thought like it'd be fun to just like basically do what we did in Discord yesterday of like what were the favorite parts.
Right.
Because like how many gifts can we find, and there are a lot of that movie, which makes me very happy.
It's very very memeable.
Oh yeah, this is
One of
definitely
the most movies ever.
This is a movie that is like it is memes inside my own head. Whenever I have a reaction to something, I basically just hear the memes from the movie going all the time.
Right. Yeah, and almost everything is memeable. Like just even scrolling back through some of our list, and like this is what I do, but on like 50 to 100 movies, right? So when you guys are like, "What the hell did he just say?" Like it's probably a reference to a movie somewhere, right? But you know, just like even the whole like, you know, I just snatched you out of the air. You know, oh, I'm a crumbling canyon wall. Like just all of it. I mean, like yeah. I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's. Yeah.
Wait.
I don't know why that one in particular just happens in my head all the time. But yay, I'm a llama again.
Right. So looking at this, so like the one that I shared this morning was kind of funny because it's the one where Yzma's like signaling Kronk, like hit him on the head. You know what's funny about that? So they've got the llama potion, right? When she dumps the thing on the cactus turns into a llama. Like, llama. Yeah. So like, yes, that's why I wanted to share that, because like there are so many even hidden gems in this movie that is a diamond itself. Where they're eating, there's a giant like bony fish on the wall and shit, and you just don't pay attention to a lot of this stuff because it's not the action, you know. But
I had never put it together that it's because she dumped the potion behind her into it. I was just like, there's a llama plant, just because why not? Like, just she had a llama comb. Oh my god.
In the preceding scene, it's literally just a cactus, and then it turns into a llama because So.
Basically, any scene with Kronk is great. Especially, I love the one where he's like doing the sneaking, and he's like, "I'm in the bag," and he's doing his own theme music, and he's like up against the wall.
Right.
I mean, for a really late edition, that the Kronk character really, I mean, he does a lot for the movie. My favorite Kronk is definitely the sudden diner cook Kronk. That's so good.
Yeah. Right.
He's so enthusiastic in doing whatever he's doing, and so when he just like, can I do a special order? And that cook just like dumps the whole soup into his suitcase, and then like a bunch of pots like it don't fit, and walks out. And it's like, okay,
turn on vision.
Well, and I after watching the Sweatsbox documentary, that line in particular stood out to me as, is that also meta commentary on the way they were treating the director? Not you, but the original director.
There's a new director at that point who probably, I don't know if the crew got snuck that one past him somehow, that he didn't realize what he let in. I wouldn't be surprised though.
I think originally it was 2 directors, and then just one of them quit, or one of them left, and then the other one stayed on. So I think everyone in the creative was a fan of the original vision and wanted to do this great epic story that was very formulaic, like a lot of Disney Renaissance movies, and all the songs were terrible, including one ripped off from My Fair Lady. But all of it was terrible except for like the aesthetic, and they kept that. But I think everyone was pretty much on the original lead director's side on this one. So I don't think it was too difficult to slip past anybody.
Whether it's a commentary on the director or even just the animators of like, this person's been killed off. I'm sorry, all of your work is wasted. No, this person is now the star of the show. And then the next week, like, she's just going to have like 3 lines, and can you change her to be like 3 feet tall? And just the crazy roller coaster that they were going on in the constant criticism, or maybe not criticism, but just like changes and notes in different directions of like that cook frustration. And it's like, no respect, I'm out. And that must have been a very common sentiment among all of them. And it's common sentiment among anybody who's working ever, because everyone always has too much commentary.
I really wanted to see that whatever that stone guy was gonna be. I just wanted to know what he was.
No talking stones. Like, what the hell, guys? Like,
he was. You've seen it. You've seen Mushu and Mulan. You've seen what is it? The gargoyles, or you've seen the coach, the fawn coach in Hercules. You've seen.
So that's like that. That's the character he was, kind of like that.
That's the character he was, okay. Especially what's his face in Hercules.
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito. Phil. That's right.
Yeah.
Which at least is a good name.
I might have seen Hercules a few dozen times because that's a good safe bet for the kids. So,
I still wanted to know the song though. I was like, why can't a human be more like a rock? Because that sounded hilarious.
We need original music, Ben. You can't have it both ways. It's either My Fair Lady or we're going to get original shit about a rock. All right?
My Fair Lady was hilarious. The greatest movie musical ever. The single greatest. The perfect movie. And this thing he just spitballs this song. That's
like it sounded funny. The 10 seconds that you could hear the documentary. It's like that would have tickled me as a child. It tickles me right now.
The other one that I wanted was the Yzma theme, right? Because they basically co-opt Kuzco's theme from the beginning and sing it about Yzma, and it, that little bit, and she sings it herself, right? So it's just like that would have been amazing, but because you don't have a lot of the voice actors and actresses that sing their own bits, they usually bring somebody in for that. But
right,
like Sting.
Right. Which even Sting, he doesn't sing that part. He wrote that song, but they went and got that Vegas jazz band or whatever to perform it, and that was some of my favorite bits of the documentary too, actually, because like I'm not sure the relationship, so forgive my ignorance, but like his partner, right, his music partner and whatever, like when the dude hits the notes and he's
his EG.
Yeah, right. It's like this is exactly how I heard it in my head. He was just so excited for them to be delivering his art and whatever. It was a fun thing to see. So
there were a couple songs, and it was weird. The producers, because we've heard clips of most of the songs, I think, on the original 6 songs, and like the two they liked, like there was this Llama Panorama. Weird. They liked that for some reason. The love song was good, but
yeah.
Do we really want a Prince of the Pauper love story in place of Emperor's New Groove?
No.
Would we ever really want that? I think they got the mysticism. If you want a movie in South America with a mystical angle, you got Road to El Dorado, and see how that turned out.
Which someone did point out as being basically the more Disney-fied version of the story in the first place.
I think I've seen that more times than Emperor's New Groove.
Road to El Dorado?
Yeah.
It's another one that it was like, I don't think it's great, and I didn't like it at first, but it's so like as an adult, it captures me that is completely a D&D campaign, right? So you're just watching these two dudes just fucking making it up, and it's like, how do we take 2 bards and throw them in, like, you're about to get executed, what's your play? Oh, we're gods. Like, that's your play? Well, we rolled a 20.
So now we're gods.
Right? Like, it's...
I love that take.
Yeah,
I think I like that movie now. Before you said that, I did not like that movie. I think I like that movie now.
Yeah. Well, and then you've got the other one that's like, you can't con a con, which is their, slash girlfriend slash, the slave that gets assigned to them, right, or whatever. And she's like, you're not fooling, you're not conning the con, like, so. And you get the same thing. Yeah, right. Yeah, both is good. Yeah, and you get the same thing from the priest, right, where he's like, you can't con a con, and then he actually is like, wait a minute, I can do magic. The magic was in me the whole time, and now I'm a jaguar god, But yeah, anyway, I think it's a pretty good. And then talk about formulaic, like I'm having chicken and the egg syndrome, but like you get some of that is overlaps decently well with Atlantis, right, including the ship full of gold send off at the end and whatever, which they don't get in Road to El Dorado spoilers, but you get those kinds of things where it's like the civilized Europeans come to bring culture to those savage peoples and whatever, but I don't know. So anyway, yeah, so we got 30 minutes to talk about something. So
not to bring a critique, and what I've seen I kind of agree with is like Kuzco's transition from douchebag to good guy is pretty quick and a bit jarring. Like, it's like, I'm being a douchebag, and now I'm a good guy.
Right. I think some of it is he gets caught up in the moment, right? Like he basically does a 180 when they have their like walking up from the pit above the crocodile scene, and they have the scorpions and all that, and then he instinctively grabs him from the edge of the cliff when the Kuzco thing would have been to just let him die. And then, he literally says exactly Pacha's words, which means that he's been listening and, like he was taking in some of what he said. He saw Pacha being nice to him, even though Pacha has every reason to be selfish and leave him to die out there or make his life miserable. And then he's like, what? Nobody's that heartless. That's why I think that's one of my favorite scenes. because he shows competency at something. He succeeds on his own merit for once, even though it's just reflexively. He saves Pacha without thinking, just all of this stuff, and then the whole realizes, oh shit. I developed morals somewhere along the way,
I think this kind of overthinks it. I think there's something to be said, a la Aristotle, that friendship has that kind of effect. Who you spend time with will affect who you become and what your morals are. And he has no friends, which is why he's selfish, which just kind of creates that vicious circle. But when he breaks out of that, and just a decent guy Pacha is around to help him out, he's no longer a jerk. So I think that is earned just because that's a real thing that happens. And seeing the betrayal of somebody you thought you could trust, who would obey you blindly, might be a nice little trigger moment. But I think it was built up.
Mention things when he came up to them, and they were like, "We should have just killed him right the first time." And that whole facade is being ripped away. They mentioned nobody cares that he's gone. Nobody cared about him. And as long as we kill him, then we're all good. And so he has this betrayal, and nobody's looking for him. So the only person he has as a friend is the only one that's genuinely good around him. And things like that. I also wonder if it's in some way hark back to when he had fired her, and Yzma was like, "Well, I practically raised him." And Krunk says, "Yeah, you think he'd turn out better?"
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah, well, and I mean, kind of some additional subtext there too is Pacha, again, he's helping him out because it's the right thing to do, not necessarily because it's something he's going to get, right? Whereas everybody around Kuzco was, they did what Kuzco wanted because they didn't want to get tossed out of a window, or because they were getting something else back in return. And Yzma just literally being duplicitous, right? So
she's going to rule the country,
right.
I think a scene that doesn't get enough love is when Yzma is with Pacha's family.
Oh,
that entire scene is fantastic.
Okay, but I've got 94 more monkeys to go. So
and at the signal switch, and she's like, now
it's time.
And then she switches well, normally that would be a place for tension. Oh no, the family's in trouble, but they totally got Yzma handled so easy, easy. It's not even fun. Well, it is fun.
Open the door, and I'll burn your house to the ground. Don't you mean or?
Fine. I have an important distinction,
right? Just
not even that
whole thing.
Conjunction. Jesus.
Well, and even just the two dudes that are playing checkers or whatever before that, it's well, how would you describe her? Scared beyond all reason? Yeah, that's it. Just the whole thing leading up to it is just comedy gold too. So,
well, then the whole scene where the kid dreams that their dad is a llama. He's like, "Oh, that's stupid." And he passes out.
Right. That would never happen. Yeah, it's exactly what happened. Yep.
Well, another thing I really was thinking about the movie is it's a really small cast. If you think there's probably only 15 unique characters in the entire movie,
right?
And so everyone's got their little piece, and it just works.
Right.
I never really grew to particularly like Kuzco. I like Krunk, I like the humor, and I like it, but I never really got to like the main character. He's kind of an ass, and then he was just less of an ass, but still an ass.
Right, and I think that's okay. I mean, Kuzco's not my favorite in the movie, but I feel like he mostly learns his lesson, and then you learn to live with him at the end. I don't think he doesn't ride off into the sunset. He doesn't get the girl. He doesn't, win some lottery or something, and his life is greatly improved from a metaphysical moral sense rather than, things and stuff, which is, again, kind of Disney formula, right? Beauty and the Beast, okay, he had the money, he had the mansion, but he didn't have true love, and that's not this story, right? The story is almost more self-love and friend love than it is, a more classic Disney story in the whole happily ever after sense, right? So I don't know. Yeah, like and Pacha is like he doesn't. The only thing he gets at the end is like he gets a new friend, which is great, and his house not burned down. Which is pretty good for him. That's a good day. So, Yzma gets turned into a cat.
He gets a pool out of the deal.
Right, a new bird bath and a pool. So.
I like how enthusiastic those guards were that they became animals.
Yeah.
Like, as the one guy's like, "I'm a cow. Can I just not be here?" Yeah, sure. Get out. Anyone else? Oh, I'm great. I love this. I got 8 arms now. What up?
I know the sergeant is one of my favorites because he's like, "No, we're good." He's like, "I can hold like so many axes now, right?" So he's so into it. But yeah, and honestly, I was trying to work in that scene earlier anyway. But the whole they're running from them, and they're going down the slide, and he's like, "Please be something with wings. Please be something with wings." It is. But there's nothing with wings that is big enough to carry you, my dude. So, they're like,
one of the guards
flying.
Was a bigger bird as being an ostrich. But it's like, no, okay, you're a parrot. That's not going to help much.
Right. Yeah. It's too good. So.
Yeah, it is. It's good. Very little to discuss other than just like this was great and that was great and this was fun and this is stuck in my head all the time.
Surprisingly,
there are definitely a lot of
would
great
not have
scenes.
made this a better movie. So
a lot of great scenes. I can't say anything that made it a better movie, but it's not. And for me, it's not a perfect movie. But I can see how it is for you guys, and certainly it's a very good movie and it's a fun movie.
So for comparison, what's a perfect Disney movie for you? Like if we were going to just or an animation movie in general, whatever. Like if we were to get some comparison.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to think about that. But okay, on the top of my head, a perfect Disney movie is something probably something more singing. I like musicals, and I like my Disney movies with singing.
Yeah, but how much singing, right? Like Lion King, where it's like they're singing in it, or like I'm trying to think what's one that's all but entirely a musical.
Well, the closest I can think is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, but talk about like we're talking like apples and oranges already, and you're like, here is a pineapple. Like, holy cow, my dude!
Pineapple.
Yeah, like
probably.
I think you're technically correct, right? It is a Disney movie, but holy shit, throwing Tim Burton in the mix with Lion King and Emperor's New Groove, like
I'm just
clashing of flavors.
I will say, I will defend that. I am positive that one perfect movie is going to be Nightmare Before Christmas. It just is.
I mean, I agree. It's a perfect movie. It's so good.
He doesn't hit
very,
very good. It's close, but it's perfect for me.
I'm not sold on perfect.
I agree with Ben alone. Shit, I need to change my opinion.
I'm gonna give begrudging a little bit here, right? I think it's perfect for what it is, but it's not everybody's genre, right? So you're gonna get it, like this is a perfect horror movie. Like, okay, that's great, but like
right.
it's perfect in its niche, maybe, but I mean,
and
it sure beats the shit out of Corpse Bride and some of his others. But
you're asking Andreas, though. I don't want to interrupt and be rude.
Well, I mean, he's got nothing. So
I think in terms of like percentage singing, I'm more in the Frozen Moana camp. Ooh. There's a decent amount of songs, but not all songs. And in terms of a Disney movie, I think animated movie, I think is in every way a movie more perfect for me that I like more is I've seen Big Hero 6 like 10 times.
Right. Yeah,
you
were
no
mentioning
song
that earlier. So
yeah, no, that was he asked for what animation and what amount of songs.
Fair enough.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I did expect an intersection somewhere, but no, Big Hero 6 was pretty good. It tugs the heartstrings. You get a really good coming of age hero story and everything like that. Yeah.
I think if it was not just Disney but everything, that's still like in this ballpark. This is not anime or something. Right. WALL-E is probably a perfect movie for me, even though there's no singing in that. Maybe I just go in a Disney movie like I want give me some songs.
Or
Big epic
maybe you
fights.
just didn't realize until this moment that you have a thing for robots, because Big Hero 6 and Wall-E are all about the robots.
Yep, that's true. Maybe I just like the robots.
But yeah, like Wall-E, especially for there not being dialogue for like the first half an hour or whatever, practically is like
So
it's really good. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So.
Well, there's another movie with a great beginning that does not sustain that kind of dedication. Have a no dialogue Pixar movie. That'd be phenomenal. I'm in on that. But and it had this weird aesthetic blending with like a film like actual film mixed with CGI, total CGI cartoon style, with a couple different ways. There's the movie and there's what's his face, the president of Big by and large, yeah.
Yeah.
I fell asleep
how do
during Wall-E,
you say to someone that they are deeply wrong on a fundamental level that you cannot express?
Here, Andres, I'm going to say it
for response is "fuck you, go to hell."
I mean, that's the gist of it, but yeah. Because I mean, Wall-E, despite its obvious moralizing, right? I don't feel like you don't feel judged necessarily too harshly at the end of it, but I think it gets its point across, and just be the whole, hey, by the way, this is probably unsustainable, across the board. But
I would also say that, like, if we're talking like perfect animated movies, for me, like Up is really high up there. Like it's
Which one?
Really
Up.
It's really high up there.
Up.
Up might be the best.
I didn't watch it for a long time. I didn't watch it recently, and it is very good.
I've never seen it.
Are you thinking of
Wow.
the sad romance? Or are you thinking of dogs running through jungles?
Both.
say
I
that.
think it's a great movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, up didn't necessarily do it for me. Like I can see why people like it, and I like parts of it. I just feel like I don't know. Like
It's very
obviously
split, though, right?
Yeah, the feels are there for sure. The having the adventure with the little like scout cub or whatever was there. The plot that is supposed to be sort of the primary plot with his like adventuring hero and stuff just never quite hooked me entirely, right? So I don't know. Like it's not that it's not present. It didn't like I don't know. Like it didn't stitch together for me. So, but. And the director has no idea what we're talking about. So
I know enough of what happens in Up. I just I never had the impetus to watch it because I saw it being memed all the time. It's like I think I get it now. I'm okay.
Go watch it because I'm never
to.
going to give you up, and I'm never going to let you down. And okay, but
Really?
it does have like one of the more tragic stories, especially that is like, given so little screen time, right? Like with their
the first 10 minutes is like, here, we're going to hit you in the face with a baseball bat a few times. Try not to cry.
Right.
It's so well done. Those first 10. This movie is very split, like in terms of like what's it about and how it kind of feels, right? But those first 10 minutes it's amazing the emotional response they can get out of people in those 10 minutes or whatever. It's not long, and it really hits home.
And it's basically wordless too, right? Like I think there's a song playing in the background. Beyond that, it's just like.
I mean, we kind of get like introduced to the characters as kids, right? There's dialogue there, and then it's silent for the next 5 minutes or something, where like it shows them going through their life. So I don't know how they did that. It's hard to get people to care enough about characters that fast that they get that emotional about it.
And that is something for going back to our main topic is like they don't really try to like play at your heartstrings in Emperor's New Groove. They're like, we're just gonna have fun. There's no romance. There's no big. No one dies. Like and they don't ever really. Besides like when they're above there, like above the alligators and the waterfall, there's really not a lot of high tension in the movie at all. Like it's a pretty light movie compared to a lot of Disney movies.
Right. Well, and like even some of the drama just gets turned into a slapstick moment, right? With the whole trampoline scene where it's like Yzma's falling or whoever is falling with the potion, and they're like, no, that I'm gonna be a llama forever, and then it's like the trampoline. Like for the last time, we did not order a giant trampoline. Like it's like, why is this even here? Once again, just because it's funny, it doesn't matter. Like but
it's the ability to just like, I don't know what needs to happen, so here's something stupid and funny, and we'll keep going. Like that. How did we get here? It's like, who cares? That's not the point.
Right.
The point is we are.
Yeah.
It is funny when you see it and you see this documentary that we watched at the same time, how often it's brought up through the development of this movie. I don't feel like we care about the characters enough, and then by the end they're like, oh, I care, and I really cared and stuff they're saying. Which is very different to I cared about characters in this movie, but like you said earlier, not the main character at all. And I feel like that's very much what they wanted. They wanted you to care about him, and I didn't like him, and I didn't really, and I don't care. I care about everybody else. Almost more. I cared more about the family than I cared about the main character, and I see them for 4 minutes.
That's one thing I think the movie does well is there's at least somebody that you're going to relate to on some level. Like, I agree with you. Like, I mean, Pacha, Kronk, even Yzma, I like a lot more than Kuzco.
Yeah. And it's okay for the main character to be unlikable, and I like that they actually did that as a risk, because I feel like anyone who's trying to make a story in order to get people invested are trying to, like, we have to like my main character, therefore you hurt when they're hurt, or be happy when they're happy. But like, it's also okay for it's just like, I can watch the shit happen to someone without giving a shit about them, because it can still be interesting beyond that.
It kind of flips it with Kuzco, right? You're almost happy when he's hurt, right?
Yeah,
because he's such a dick.
You root against him like pretty much the entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least up until he gets like washed down, and the CPR scene and everything like that. It's like, you're finally getting what's due. Like you get
when he decides to go try to be a llama and join like a llama herd, and they like walk away, and he's trying to eat grass and dirt. And it's like, yeah. He's like, do you want to?
He is a terrible llama.
You're right. It's like, do you want to go get your body bag? Yes. It's another one of those moments that just go in my head.
Oh,
yes.
So wonderful.
Yeah.
David Spade's delivery was so good for a lot of this.
Right. Yeah, and honestly, like, I'm glad that you bring him up a little bit more too, because like that was one of those things where I think like I was late to understanding it was David Spade in this movie, because I feel like it's different from what the David Spade in my head is, right? You've got like Joe Dirt, and you've got all these other stupid movies that he's in. And then this one, it's like, yeah, okay, he's kind of a stupid character, but he's playing him straight and serious, right? Instead of just like the character itself isn't necessarily slapstick, right? It's just the stuff that goes on around him is completely ridiculous for us. Like, oh, you bumped into me while I was dancing, throw him out the window, like, but for him, it's, it's kind of all, like he's just the straight character, right? He's the serious guy for a lot of it, but yeah, anyway, like you said, good delivery. So
yep, very good.
You better not be talking too much trash about Joe Dirt. That movie's a national treasure.
Look, after I watched The Stupids with Tom Arnold, like I had to draw a line, because I got a literal fucking migraine from watching that movie, and decided that there was a lower limit on what I could bring myself down to enjoy. And so like there's a lot of movies, like stoner movies and a few others, that are like touchy at best, right? Like somehow I made it through Dude, Where's My Car? But there's a lot of like some of those others that are like, what am I doing watching this? Like, I'm sorry. It just, some of them are just like, they're too much. Like, yeah. Dumb and Dumber really pushes the limit. Like I saw it once, but that was like okay, I get the memes and have seen it and whatever, but like there are just things where I'm like, you're dumb and that's worked out for you because it's the story, not because I don't know. It's just tough sometimes.
Where's your card, dude?
Right.
Would you
say?
Would you say that there's not a chance in 1 in 100 million that you would watch Dumb and Dumber?
I mean, I wouldn't say that because I'd watched Dumb and Dumber.
Dang it!
Were you trying to trick me into a meme that I missed?
I don't know. Just being jocular for fun.
Yeah. Do you want to hear the most annoying noise on the planet? So, yeah. Like,
Guys!
Right.
Stop!
And I actually like a ton of Jim Carrey's movies. Like even, like you've got The Mask is great and things like that. But yeah, Dumb and Dumber is just like the wrong side of that. Like
Yeah, I never got into Dumb and Dumber. I've seen it a couple of times. It's like, nope, this doesn't do it for me.
right. And The Grinch, by the way, I make a point to watch every year. So Elf is right out.
But his best
Grinch is
movie,
fun.
The Truman Show.
I got to go rewatch it. It's really good though. Like
It is very good.
I remember enjoying it. It's just been, I think I've only seen it like once or twice, and it's been a real long
It's
time.
been a while, but I still remember that. Who you talking to? Scene. Still remember that.
Right.
Yeah, because it just reminded me of it, but I just rewatched Pleasantville not too long ago. That's a better movie than I remember it being.
That was when they're all gray, right?
Right.
Yep.
It's
Ben only liked that one for the first 20 minutes, and then they introduced color, and it was all downhill from there. So
Truman Show is really good. I know the pacing is slow and it's done intentionally, so that can kind of throw people off, but it is really good.
Yeah. I got nothing
So
else to add.
Are we doing Clue next? Is that
I don't know. What are we doing next? Maybe we've got 3 minutes. Let's. What's the next movie? We've been doing this alternation, so like something that's dystopian and dark, and then this movie that's happy and lovely. So does that mean we also go back to dark something?
Dark City?
Clue is both. You could get, people die, but it's hilarious.
The
I
Matrix?
I've
heard-
never seen
I
it,
haven't-
so I can't judge.
I can't say it. I've heard the same thing about like Knives Out, but similar.
You've never
vein, right?
seen. Hold on. You've never seen Clue?
Nope.
I turned to feel old this week. Thank you for that.
I would say
All
that-
the way
Why is that a
down.
reaction to feeling old?
Because that's like everybody should see Clue, and it's a very 80s movie, and
It's
that's
not that.
why.
It's
like,
not that great. It really isn't. It's
Which part of California, Ben? Because I'm all fucking.
it's really not.
We'll drive over to Nevada where dueling is still legal. So
Have I tossed Sandlot out there for a perfect movie? That's definitely
forever. Yeah. No, I don't know. Everybody loves Sandlot. I don't know if perfect, but
I have not seen the whole
maybe-
thing. I have seen only pieces, and I did not like it. No, thank you.
yeah, it's like perfect for its genre, maybe, right? Like Sandlot and Goonies, right? But like, I don't know. Compared to some of the other movies we've talked about, it's kind of tough.
What about Ghostbusters? Is a perfect movie.
Ghostbusters 1
I'd be down for that.
is very good.
But is
Back
that
off,
more-
man! I'm a scientist.
Yeah, it's probably perfect. I'd say it's perfect.
Very apropos since it's, actually in the same universe movies coming out.
Are they
The
doing
new
another one?
Yeah, they're doing and it's unlike the female one. It's actually like it's like
What?
What?
Oh, hang on there.
what?
I don't know. You don't just call it the Ghostbusters the bad one. Well, one of the two bad ones. You don't just call it the female one.
That's what it
Come
is.
on, man.
It's the
Like-
female one. What do you mean?
All
Okay,
they
I
did
don't
is
know.
they tried to tell the same story but gender bend the cast, right? Like
It's
I don't know.
It's like
And,
it's
and without jokes.
right. you know.
Right.
But like, you know, Chris Hemsworth is a sexy secretary. That's the whole joke. That's all the funny in the whole movie. So,
Don't tell me that the pitch when they originally made this movie was like, okay, imagine Ghostbusters, but it's all girls.
That
That's
probably is
to-
literally it.
That's
I mean,
how they
I haven't
pitched
seen
it,
it.
for sure.
Yeah, because it's like we
man,
have
we're
to
gonna
have
make so
something
much
that has
woke money.
exactly because they had to have something that they cash in that's already successful and already would have a following, but you got to make it woke. Therefore, gender bending.
Right.
The
That's
new
not a
one looks
pitch, that's not a
interesting.
story.
Hopefully they don't suck it with it too bad.
Yeah.
But this movie
Well,
the new one follows the smartest one of them's like grandkids
You gone?
and his daughter.
Egon's kids.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
right,
it's like-
shit, because it's got like Paul Rudd or whoever in it, right?
Yeah,
yeah, it looks-
one of the kids
Yeah.
from Stranger Things is in it, and
Okay. Yeah, I do
My
remember seeing
faith
that
went
trailer.
from like here to way up here when I saw Paul Rudd was in it.
Well, yeah, not just that, but like, okay, so like in an interesting way, like they're making it, they're like taking the darker, serious parts about it, right? You know,
Right.
which like, if you played the video game, like I feel like they did a decent amount with that too, right? Like a lot of the stuff that came after
The
the movies
cartoon.
really tried to focus in on the dark lore and the fourth dimension and all that stuff. This one seems to be more one of those where it's like almost like Monster of the Week feel or something, right? So I'm just like, I don't know, I'm on the fence, but like, yeah, the trailer did capture me. It's just been too long since I've seen it. I was like, what are you guys talking about?
There's a trailer came out this week, I think. There's a lot of the CGI in it, which I will say is a bit of a bummer when you see it. Be prepared.
So spoiler alert, they didn't cast actual ghosts in the original Ghostbusters. It's crazy, you know, like but the practical effects were kind of lacking for that. But other than that, it's a perfect movie.
It's not a movie about the. Well, so is that it? Are we doing Ghostbusters after all?
I don't know.
I don't. We got
I'm up
room
for
to talk about it.
Ghostbusters.
I mean, I'm looking at our list too. Like, you know, if we wanted to flip it, Ghostbusters again, like, can be dark, serious, and comedy, right? You know, we've got 7 if we want to go way dark. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Seven fucking A.
Such a
Right.
good movie.
Yeah, I'm
Seven is
I'm
fine.
leaning more towards 7,
That's one of the
honestly.
movies, like
The Mist.
it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
I feel like we should make you watch it. Just like if we're doing this alternating theme, then like it's hard to get worse than that.
So what do we follow it up with though? Because we're definitely going to need a palate cleanser after 7. So
Aliens?
Wally.
there you go.
I watch these movies with
Or-
my wife.
Or Big
I
Hero
don't
6.
know. No, there's no way we're gonna watch 7. And there's like this line like
Why can't your wife watch
Thomas
7?
Aquinas wrote about the 7 deadly sins. Oh no, I'm on a federal watch list for reading Thomas Aquinas.
Oh my god.
Come on. Okay, whatever. That was the part that made me laugh last time I saw it.
We'll follow 7 up with Babe because, you know, after
Babe
you've
is so
seen
good.
Gluttony and everything, you got to get
Why is-
yourself a pig.
Why is
That'll do, pig.
We're
That'll
looking at
do.
you, you know. So actually, it looks like Ben added this.
Yeah, it
one.
was totally
So
me.
You can,
That's a
you,
perfect
can
movie.
you can play Ben. I was like, you're the director. Who let this get on the list, director? It was
The
Ben.
Martian. The Martian is very good and it's very
Yeah,
That's a
uplifting.
good palate cleanser.
I mean,
It's a very
it's
good palate cleanser.
neutral. Like it's not
Constantine.
dark or super funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, anything on this list, I'm down for the most part. I'm just
Yeah.
like, how far out do we want to push it? Like Logan, you know, is very rated R without being 7, right? You know, but so
Logan is the best non-Marvel superhero movie.
No.
Yes.
If Logan is not Marvel, then so is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And if you don't agree with that, there's also Incredibles. Both I think are better than Logan. But there's
Incredibles
no-
is not better. In Spider-Man to Spider-Verse maybe, but let's say the not animated movies. Not animated movie. It's the best
Okay.
motion picture that's
give
not
you that.
Marvel.
I'll give you that. And it's still Marvel. You know, I'll let you do
Well, it's
like
from
a
the
Dark
Marvel
Knight.
universe, but it's not from the Marvel cinema.
Yeah.
It's not Marvel Studios.
No.
Yeah.
I wonder if one of those Batman movies would be better, or one of the first Superman movie. I don't know. I'd have to see him again.
I don't know.
I like Logan
really
more
kinda
than.
I think it's a contender.
Yeah.
I think it's a contender.
It depends on what you're going for, right? Because a lot of these, like, nothing quite grabs the feel of Logan, like, you know, a lot of the other movies. Like, and I think that's part of why it stands out on its own, is it perfectly encapsulated its story without necessarily needing anything else. And it was even still obviously an extension from, you know, the decent, you know, X-Men movies and whatever, that they keep trying to recapture some of that, which is hilarious because they were bad, right? But they weren't nearly as bad as some of the stuff that came after.
What would you say about Mallrats? Is Mallrats a comic book movie?
Is it based off a comic book?
Oh, it's about comic books, isn't it?
I've never seen Mallrats. So I
Oh.
have no idea.
Yeah.
All right, great.
I mean, it's Kevin Smith, so yes, it's
always about comic
a
books. Fair
comic
enough.
book movie, but
Fair enough.
yeah.
It's all Kevin Smith movies about comic books, you said?
Kevin Smith
Well-
is about comic books.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like Clerks wasn't, right? But you know,
Dogma wasn't.
yeah, I guess.
I really feel like
Yeah.
Tusk has a very comic book feel to it.
He's written a couple bad comic books, Kevin Smith.
Apparently, the new He-Man sucks.
The cartoon.
Yeah, I just released it.
Netflix.
Yeah, well, I'm asking because like the wife just started watching it and she's in love with it right now. So I haven't seen any of it, but I mean the animation at least looked good, and they've got Mark Hamill as Skeletor, right? So it's what it sounded like anyway. But
Yep. Well, tune in next time.
when we talk about something,
Next week is Dresden, and the week after that, we'll be watching some movie to be determined.
I guess we'll argue about that a little longer.